I'm Abby Haggard, and I think I might have pulled off something. Not sure. We'll find out later today. First things first, welcome back after some very complicated, crazy stuff going on. I wanted to, what have I got here? This is all good. This is all good. Yes. All right. So, first things first, cheers, my dears. Okay. So, first thing second is we got snow yesterday. It was beautiful and warm, and all the golfers were going, yes. And then all of a sudden, no, which I know it's not a third world thing. It's not even a second, it's way first world. But just sort of crazy to have these events happen that discombobulate. And this is part of what I want to talk about today, is how we are ruddering. I think I've just invented a new word, ruddering. I swear to you, there's somebody in the back of my head who just hands me out things to say, and sometimes they're pretty cool. So uncertainty and uncertain times are things that our primitive survivor brain doesn't like. It's, how long has that snake been there? It's kind of what's going on in that brain. And I don't care that it looks friendly. He's making a noise, and that's not okay. What we all do in our own ways, based on the habits that we developed over time, how we were raised, the origin stories we were taught, is we develop these patterns that are efficient because they become a pattern, and also they become comforting because they are normal, they are predictable, and they are familiar. And so the more we do, the the gooder we get, and it becomes entrenched. So that's going to be the topic today, is some of our habituated stuff, why it works, and how we can maybe, I don't know, get a little control over it before it controls us, right? So in anticipation of that, for the newcomers, because I think I've actually got LinkedIn now, my page on LinkedIn streaming with this software, and I have some of my fingers crossed that they also got Instagram, although it made a little warning bleep, so I don't know. I didn't really have time to figure it out. So if I didn't do it today, I'm hopeful that I get it by Thursday, which means that Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and possibly Instagram and Twitch will all be able to see what we're about. We will all, as a tribe, be able to connect to each other through what's going on. Good morning, Freddie. It's lovely to see you. So the reason behind all this, I was explaining this to someone at an event last night. I was very active in television and stage and radio for a long time. And then, as often happens in the entertainment industry, everything ran full tilt into a wall and fell down. And because it's very much a busy, not busy kind of industry. When I stepped away looking for something else to do to pay the rent, I discovered writing. And I became a writer for hire, a ghostwriter, and I worked through an agent. And it gave me this wonderful opportunity to see the world through other people's eyes much more clearly and in depth. Because writing a book from start to finish takes about a year. And you have an idea, and then you get it formulated, and you look at it, you think, no. And so start again. And so even with me on board, it's very much a dance back and forth. What I mean, what I feel, what I know, and then how to translate that out when it comes from you into ways that other people are going to say, oh my gosh, they're right. That's me. Oh my gosh, that's me. I need that book. Oh, what, we need that book. That's the trick. That's a transition process, the translation process that I do with people, that I teach people how to do better than they are currently doing it. And so when I came back to being visible front and center, with this idea in mind of being translator girl, I thought the first thing I need to do is remind people what it used to be like to see me, what it used to be like to turn on a machine and there I am. And or to listen to something on the radio or to, go to a show. I needed for my comfort zone to reconnect in that way. So as a result, I've been doing these videos, 40 minutes or so, an hour, twice a week. And this is episode 343, which means that we're well into our third year, which is amazing and exciting, because what it is also allowing me to do is provide teaser tidbits of information that connect where we are, where you are right now, where I am right now, to this pivotry in motion process that I'm evolving. A pivot is a hard turn. You see something, you have to go this way. Before you're able to physically do that, you have to have a shift in here. And one of the things that I started saying a long time ago when people were saying, why would you need to do that? And I said, because change is hard. And I said, the curious thing is, it truly is only hard when we didn't think of it. When we thought of it, I've decided I'm going to have green hair tomorrow. I think that's a fabulous idea. If I don't tell anybody and I show up, everybody goes, "Oh, what have you done? Whoa, whoa," because it's change and it's a surprise. And everyone is disorganized and disoriented because it's not familiar. They didn't think of it. They didn't have the luxury of trying it on for size, chewing on it, like a sandwich, deciding that I don't like it halfway through the sandwich. So the ability to do this, to shift attitudes, to shift moods, to shift excitement, to shift focus, to shift ideas, it's born in us. We come with it. Batteries included in that way. Then we practice it all through life. We copy the behavior of the people who raise us. What they do, we do. We go to school, leave home for the first time, go to school, and discover to our everlasting surprise that there's a whole bunch of other people our size who think they're the center of the universe and that they do it their way at their house. And that's wrong. And we come home all indignant. And then the parents have to say either, well, good morning, Daniel. The parents either say, I know, right? There's something wrong with them. Or, well, everybody's different. So in that way that we gradually learn that there are different ways to do and be, we also learn that when we see that cute someone smile at us, and we're just all different. It's just all different. And when we see somebody scary approaching us, it's just all different. These are different parts of our brain processing, and they are different facets of our personality. And we can go get them. We don't even realize we go get them to match, mirror, master what's coming. We can either blend in, we can run away, or we can say, I don't think so. We have those tools, and we have all those attitudes and moods and energies. You see animals when they're facing a big animal, they make themselves big, either that or they make themselves really small and hope that nobody notices them. That's pivotry in motion. Thought before deed. Feeling, thought, deed. That's how it works. People don't know that. COVID came along. Nobody had the slightest idea. Good morning, Warren. How are you? The clowns are here. All the good clowns are here. When we realize all of a sudden, I can do that on purpose. I just have to remember what I did. Might not remember what I said, but I can remember what I did. A friend of mine said she notices herself unconsciously when there's a handsome man, she raises one shoulder and looks shy. And I said, "You do?" And she said, "Well, clearly not with you." And there, you see, that's Pivotry. So in understanding how we pivot, it's very cool to look at some of the ways that we pivot, some of the things that we do that trigger our freeze, hide, comply, lie responses. And they are usually all around us, and we don't realize them, we don't see them, because they are our everyday habits. They are the things we do that we've forgotten why it's so long ago. And it's all tied into the origin story. People like us always do it this way, except that no, we don't. If we're ready to do something different, if it's our decision to ride the wave of change, to get up and behind and on top of it, and decide that change is going to carry us effortlessly from here over there to a place where we are more in control of the things we do. And right now, with so much uncertainty, we really crave that kind of thing. We really crave feeling that there's got to be a corner here somewhere where I'm in charge. So that's what we're going to talk about. Just another quick sip. By the way, if you're new and you're watching, you should be able to comment, type a comment. I can see the comments come up. So for instance, when Freddie and Daniel and Warren showed up and they said, "Morning, Abby," I can see it. And I say, "Oh, hi guys, good to see you." So it's really fun if you do that, because then you're part of the conversation with me. And that makes it a much more layered and interesting event. And you can talk amongst yourselves together. Very cool. So the theme today for our discussion is your toothpaste tube squeeze techniques. And so I'm coming to the end of a tube of toothpaste, but I decided to bring it for demonstration purposes. And so, you know what you can't do? When you're doing this, you can't fluff your hair, and you should be able to, really. You shouldn't need that third hand that allows you to do this. Okay, so origin story. When I was a very small child, and by the way, quick backstory. My dad was in the military, which meant that we moved every 15 minutes. I'm an only child, so which meant that most of the time I didn't know anybody well enough to have a best friend, because we were only here for 15 minutes and we're packing already. So what I had was casual, brief, enthusiastic, and friendships, kind of like water bugs skating across a pond, not necessarily ships passing in the night, but just kind of darting in and out. And as a result, I didn't have siblings. I didn't have frequent flyer friends my age to compare notes with until much later. Like maybe by the time I was 16, we stayed someplace long enough that I was able to confide in somebody, feel safe confiding in somebody. So all of my discoveries were all on my own. And I would come home and I would report into my parents, who would ask me questions, and I would provide answers, and they would both stand there blinking at me because I don't know what I'm seeing. I don't know what I'm saying. There's no filter. So anyway, I'm very young, and but my parents decided I was old enough. I was invited to go for a sleepover. I'd met somebody, a little girl, a little friend in the neighborhood, and the parents had met over mowing lawns and whatnot. And it seemed to be okay that I could go for a sleepover. And I was very excited because I had never gone anywhere else. I'd never slept anywhere but in my bed in my house with my parents in the room down the hall. It was a totally new thing. So excited. Also terrified, just saying. So, because I was keen, but I was also shy. How do you do this? So I went, and I have no memory of the event. I couldn't tell you what we did, what we ate, anything except one. When I got home the next morning, my mom and dad said, "So, how was it?" And I said, this was my one takeaway. They squeezed their toothpaste the wrong way. Parents looking at each other and then looking back at me. Did you want to take this? No, after you. Because I called them like I saw them, still do. So what I did and still do is that I throttle my tube of toothpaste. When it's brand new, I squeeze it from the top. And I keep squeezing it from the top until all of a sudden it can barely breathe. It's lying on the bathroom counter going, somebody help me. And then I realize that there's still perfectly good toothpaste the rest of the way down, and then I have to start moving it up. But then as you move it up, you have this flat, pathetic looking bottom of the tube. And you forget. You work it all the way up, and then you forget, and you keep squeezing at the top again. And the next thing you know, it's annoying, especially if you're late getting started and you don't have time for this. So somebody said, "Oh, they've got a thing for that." I said, "Really? What's the thing?" "Well, it's like a little rolling, like the key that's on the top of a can of sardines or something." And I said, "Yeah. Well, they have those for toothpaste tubes." "Really?" "Yes." So, of course, I went hunting high and low in country after country after country, and I never found one. Did I give up? Nope. What I did was in the bathroom. My mother had been doing something, and she couldn't find a hat pin. She was going someplace, couldn't find a hat pin, but she found one of these little things called a bobby pin. And they're a vintage thing now, and I pull it off so you can see it. So it's a bobby pin, looks like this, right? And so women who were used to wear their hair in complicated hairdos would have these pins. I have to put it against something so you can see it. Exhibit A, bobby pin. See? And so it works like a paperclip, except for your hair. So you just, you did I rehearse this? No. So you spread it open, and then it's spring loaded, and it pops back. So I says to myself, well, I just take the toothpaste tube, which will unroll if you're not careful. And as it moves up, all I do is I just slide, she says, I just slide the bobby pin on it to hold it in place. And while I'm demonstrating it for you, I just did it wrong. I just slide. Never do that. Never put your teeth on it. Don't do that. So when you get that working for you, there you go. You now have, you just have the bobby pin, and it now prevents me from indulging in my unconscious squeezeology. Thing I see with toothpaste in my places, and I don't get it, why people start on another tube when there's already it's because there's not enough left. And they don't like, it's like people who don't finish the last dregs of orange juice. It's like I have 3 boxes of cereal going. Because I've told myself, yeah, I know it's a little stale, and when I have a minute, I'll throw it out. Meantime, I'll just open this one. I don't know what it is, Warren. You're absolutely right. Oh, Julie says hi. Julie See, guys, see, new guys, Warren and Julie live in Florida. I live in Ottawa, Canada. We are a distance apart. What we share is that we both belong to a Facebook group called We Are the Unforgettables, which is a little nostalgia entertainment and nostalgia fans, followers, participants who just, they have fond memories of a certain point in their lives and on all the toys and the stuff that they played with. And I said, what a great way for us to have a group to get together and ignore the clowns, ignore the toxic, empty cheese doodle drama. We'll talk about together in this group all the fun, yummy memories that we have. And for a lot of people, because I was mom and you can't do it on television, I was some Care Bears and a few other animated creatures. I'm also kind of a collectible for them because they watch the show. And so now here we're chatting, we're friends, we're conversating about what's going on in our lives. Toothpaste. And so it connects us. We have members all over the world. We have somebody we have somebody in Nigeria. When that person popped up, somebody in the group said, "Oh, that's that prince. He's been trying to send you money." So it's a sweet, feel good. There's no particular age range. Like kind of attracts like. If you were watching television in the 80s, then you were watching me, so you must be a certain age. Or if you're suddenly discovering 80s television, then you're new, in the circle of friends. However, it's open to everybody. It's a public group, and all we ask is that you post when you remember something or see something, and share a picture of a great, sweet, fond memory that gives us a pause as we let the crazy Tasmanian devil world swirl by. And so many of us at that pivotal time in our lives, when we are learning about the world and trying to figure out where we are relative to, what's going on, we come up with these habits, and then we hang on to them because they make us feel like the ground beneath our feet is solid. And it's a silly thing, changing. Actually, Warren, if Julie or anybody in the house has either one of those big paper clips or a bobby pin, you could roll up the toothpaste tube so that they've still got a ton. They've still got a ton, and it's not all stupid and weird at the bottom. So my hack about this that I think is fun is to dig deep and find the story it comes from, whatever this habit is. So Warren, in your case, instead of saying, why is everybody bought it on? Because that's confrontational, but saying, does anybody remember the first time? Does anybody remember or think about it when they say, no, I want to do something new? Because I know as a military kid, I moved so often for so many years that even though, those days are long behind me, every 3 years or so I get restless and I start moving the furniture around. Or I'll decide, you know what? I think I'm going to paint that wall. I don't know. Maybe I'm going to get different curtains. And what that is that's withdrawal from the tendency, the assumption that any minute now moving boxes are going to arrive in the living room. We're on our way. And so I create safe off ramps. I create, you know what it's called? It's called a speed ramp. It's called a speed ramp, I think. Long time ago, I was hired to do a training video, actually a promotional video for a truck driver training school. Why? I don't know. There's an ad in the paper and I needed the money. So I said, hi. And in order to do the video, I had to take the driving course. And once I'd taken the driving course, I wanted to take the exam to find out what that was like. I didn't pass. I didn't really pass. But the instructor said, you're not going to do this for a living, right? No. Good. You'd be safe on the road, but you can't park. I said, I know. I can't. I couldn't figure out it's hopeless. So, but in the process of getting to meet these guys, the instructors, and then of course truckers on the road and students, I discovered a lot about the truck driver's life and the issues that they face, because it's not just long hours, don't fall asleep counting the dots on the highway. You know, when they cross borders, they all of a sudden have to be an ambassador. They have to have the paperwork in place. They have to be an administrator. They have to understand the customs and the terms and the attitudes in different locations and places and whatnot. It's a very complicated, and it can be a very stressful life, especially when there's bad conditions, when there's, you know, uncertainty going on. And one of the things that I learned was, so the big trucks, the big 18-wheel monsters on the highway, they have air brakes. It's compressed air that gives the power to the braking mechanism to stop these hurtling machines. And you compressed air, once you use it, it's depleted and you have to get it back. So you don't ride the brake and you don't tap the brake constantly, because that depletes. What you do instead is you use, and it's old-fashioned, it's standard transmission, you know, 13 gears or something, and you use the slower, lower gears to slow the truck down until the actual braking is necessary. When you didn't know you were going to get truck driver training thing, when that all goes out the window is on steep hills. Up is one thing, down is a whole nother life, because if it's really steep, you can only go through so many gears. The tendency then is to ride the brake. And in doing so, if it's a very long descent, is that you run out of brakes. You got no brakes. So what they build into the road system is they build a speed ramp, and it's like an exit lane on a highway when you're coming to an intersection, except this exit takes you to a rest stop, not where there's places to buy stuff, just a stopping area where you can sit in your truck, run the engine, and build the air pressure back up. And then you can get back on the road. And these off ramps give us the opportunity, give truckers the opportunity to reset, rest, because, by the way, some of those hills, because some of them are like this and they're also, windy and terrible, and there's vehicles coming. It gives them an opportunity to reset, rest, and recharge in ways that we don't do for ourselves. So what we use instead of pull off, give us 5, give us 30 seconds, give us 60 seconds, is we look for a simple habit that calms us down, that creates a different way of thinking, that disrupts the building momentum of anxiety of, I got to get it done. it gives us something to do to balance off the push. So one of the things that was taught to me a long time ago, and I've mentioned it before, but I haven't mentioned it in quite some time, and it is the single most simple win hack. It takes 30 seconds. It requires no tools. It requires no investment of any kind. You don't have to sign up for a newsletter. You don't have to show up for classes. It's 30 seconds. I'll demonstrate it right now. And what this gives you, and you'll experience it with me, is you have total focus on what you're doing. So there's no busy brain scurrying off, trying to do multiple things together, which dilutes our ability to concentrate and produce. And in that quiet time, it also allows you to disconnect and reconnect. And when you disconnect and reconnect, the unconscious habit becomes conscious because you're not on autopilot. You're in hands-on. I'm walking here, I'm driving here. I'm the one with my hands on the wheel. It's very interesting. And when you do suddenly realize, why do I do that? Your brain will come up with, the way I did, can't find the tool. Why don't I do this instead? Does it work? Yes, it does. Does it cure me of throttling my toothpaste every day? Yep. Problem solved. And that came to me in one of these little 30-second breaks. So I've got my hands up like this for a reason. So this simple win, it's going to make you smile. This simple win, I call it the 5-finger breathing exercise. Okay, so I'm going to start with this hand up and this index finger. Okay, and all I'm going to do, I'm going to start here, and as I'm talking to you, you can follow along if you like, just one hand and this finger, and I just very slowly, very gently trace my fingers. It's not a race. It's not super slow. I just trace my fingers all the way down, and then I just return. Very slow, very easy. And when I get to the end, I switch hands and I do it again. And I have this very slow, very soothing, very relaxing. And if I'm not talking, and normally I'm not talking because I'm not demonstrating it, my breathing changes. I am not focused on my breathing, but it just changes all by itself. And that's it. And when it's done, my whole feeling, my energy, I'm calmer. Everything's just a little slower. My hands feel great. Almost, I know I want a hand massage, please. And everything has a different kind of clarity. The point is that I don't feel uncertain. I don't feel unsteady. I don't feel pressured. I don't feel confused. And I don't feel tired. So whatever those influences were, the constant scrolling on my phone, the knocks at the door, somebody drilling in the apartment upstairs, they all go away. And I'm just doing something that is the perfect, simple win reset. And it's called the 5-finger breathing exercise. And as you do it, when you want to see about a habit that you do and wonder if there's a solution, you don't have to try and, pull the solution out of thin air. You say to yourself, what I'm going to do? I'm going to do the 5-finger breathing exercise. All right, before I begin, this is it. I'm looking for a different way to do this. And then you put it out of your mind. Put it out of your mind. It's not a mantra. It's not a manifesting. But when my brain is clear and I'm relaxed, I'm looking for a solution to this. Okay, here we go. And then you do the process. And you watch what you're doing. You pay attention to what you're doing so your mind doesn't wander off and pick flowers. It's here with you, present. It's watching you do the process. Breathing casually. It's only 30 seconds. You don't have to rush. Everybody can wait 30 seconds. You need it in the office. Be right there. What are you doing? I'll be right there. Close the door. 30 seconds. All right. And as Warren and I were saying yesterday, all right, launch the clowns. Boom. And we can go in refreshed, rested, with a reset focus. We can come up with what is my squeezeology hack? What did I come up with that instead of me trying to remember the new habit, I'm squeezing at the top again. Instead of having to remember that first thing in the morning and last thing at night, give myself a hack to do it for me. Problem solved. Now I can move on and save the world. So in the next couple of days, there's some interesting things happening. There's always interesting things happening, but there's some other interesting things happening. And I want to keep you informed. One of the interesting things that Warren and I were talking about yesterday. So Canada, like all countries, has elections for the people who are going to try and figure out how not to run the country off a cliff. And on the weekend, an election was called. So yesterday, all of the people who take care of all of those things for all the people running for office hit the ground running, screaming, wondering how to do their 5-finger breathing exercise while breaking land speed records. They're going to need this hack. If you're one of those people, you're going to need that hack. When all my new LinkedIn people, you're going to need the hack because the frantics have a ripple effect, right? So the election is supposed to happen on the 28th of April. So in the meantime, nothing is going to create a ripple effect unless it's a cataclysmic surprise. So that means that if we weren't already braced for impact up here, well, now we got another reason to brace. If we weren't already braced for impact up here in Canada because of everything else that's going on around us, now we got another one. We're going to need the 5-finger breathing exercise. We're going to need our auto habits, because these are the times when we need the comforts that make us feel safe. It doesn't have to be the food craving. It doesn't have to be, I need to go and lavishly spend the money I don't have and can't afford in order to gratify something. It can be as simple as get a small collectible. This is my little desktop friend bear. When the Care Bears came out, Friend Bear was one of the voices that I created from nowhere, from out of the ether. This looks like a job for Friend Bear. See? So, I keep him around because he's one of my little alter egos. And will I have him, in one hand while I'm scrolling or I'm watching something? Yes. Why? Because it's a comfort. It's a talisman, as Warren said. So many great memories. I'm reading so many great memories of TV, toys, and just pop culture in general. And this is one of them, And having mom in the room with me, having that wretched costume that I found. I said, that looks unfortunate. Let's wear that. Who'll see me? Oh, everybody. Oh, forever. Awesome. Do I need simple win hacks? Oh, yeah. So the other day, just to wrap this up, the other day I was talking to Carol Hay. So Carol Hay is my longtime buddy, and she coached all the kids on You Can't Fit on Television. She's the one who said, you know what, they need a mom. And I said, well, good for them. No. Children. And she said, no, it's a paying gig. I said, really? How much? She told me, and I said, suffer the children. Lead me to it. And so she reached out to me the other day and she said, how's it going? And I said, a critic once said to me, where do I get my material? Because I had written some crazy show that exploded in performance in front of people. And I said to the critic, where do I get my material? Mostly I wake up. Sometimes I leave the house. So when I was talking to her the other day, she said, so I haven't talked to you in a few days. What's going on? I said, well, mostly I wake up. And she said, oh my God. All right, give me a minute. I need coffee. All right, what's happened? And I told her, and she said, yeah. How are you doing? I said, I don't know, really. I'm good. I'm good. I've managed to not go and get a comfort tube of toothpaste to squeeze, so I'm good. So to sum it all up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, humans of all shapes and sizes, we come into the world knowing how to breathe because that's done by that brain to keep us alive. We know how to swallow. We mostly know how to digest. We don't know what to put in the mouth to digest. We learn that over time. But other than the blinking and the swallowing and the breathing, everything we now know how to do is learned behavior. Somebody came along and taught us how to get glop on a spoon from a plate and put the glop end of the spoon in the mouth, remove the spoon, swallow the glop. Somebody taught us that. When we got good at the spoon, we advanced to the fork and the knife. Somebody taught us how to go up and down stairs. The first few tries were fascinating. Somebody taught us how to tie our shoes. And somebody taught us how to squeeze the tube of toothpaste. And then when they set us free, they let us off to wander the world or have a sleepover or go to school. For the first time, we were inundated with people doing our thing their way. Very confusing. Very unsettling. I come home, they squeeze their toothpaste tube wrong. Because it had to be wrong, I didn't know how to process different. Because the only thing that was ever different for me was where the house was. And that, to this day, I occasionally find myself having taken a turn at a corner that isn't relevant now. It's from 6 moves ago. I'm sitting in front of a house and I have no idea how I got there. You turn left at the tree with the lightning thing on it. Yeah, but not now. That was then. So these auto habits that we build around us because there was no need to change them, and so they became part of what is, can sometimes be limiting. For Warren, He's got a bathroom with with tubes of toothpaste in various stages of decomposition, depending on how many people are currently in the house. That gets in the way. The habit that we have of leaving our shoes by the door, the habit that we have of piling the garbage and I'll take it on Thursday, the habit that we have of doing halfway measures. Carol once said many years ago that she was a halfway measures person until her husband at the time, God bless him, said, "Why is that there?" And she said, "Well, I'm going to hang it up later." And he said, "Well, the closet's beside the chair. Why don't you just hang it up?" And she said, I'm going to. No, I mean, when you, instead of putting it down on the chair, it's 2 more steps to the left to put it where you want it to be. Halfway measures double the work. And she said, "That's right, they do. What was I thinking?" And a habit of a lifetime changed in that moment because she realized she would have more time to do the other stuff. That little, I'll get to it. You wash the cup and you put it on the counter. Well, good morning, Kevin. Good morning. Wash the cup and put it on the counter. No, wash the cup, put it away. Counter's there. The spot is right above the counter. Don't leave it there. Just put it there. It's the same move. Oh, yeah. Do the 5-finger exercise and realize that not only did that simple win, that simple hack save you time, it meant that the 30 seconds you invest in this is free because you freed it up, which means you have more time to do something you really like consciously, deliberately, because you've just done a tiny, tiny hack. You've made it easier to not think about this because, you just move the thing up as it gets empty. It's empty when the pin reaches the top. Then instead of 6, you go get 1 more and toss this. Time saving. Not big. But the squeezeology is psychology. We do things habitually because the habit makes us feel safe. When the habit becomes confining, the habit is stealing our time. It's confining us to a smaller space. Well, that doesn't make any sense. If the habit is meant to help, then it should be cool and sleek and fun, not restricting. The way you say yes to people, because yes is easier. A few months ago, I experienced somebody who said yes, and I thought they were very agreeable and really excited and positive. No, they just said yes because it was easier. To say yes, people don't force themselves on you, try to explain things. He said, "Oh, yeah. That was the end of the conversation. Because if he said, "What do you mean?" or "No," it's prolonged. He just wanted to cut to the chase. That took me 30 days to figure out. And I said, that's interesting. He's never said no about anything. That's not normal. Can you think of anybody you've ever met who never says no? I have people saying no to me all the time. They say, no, or no, all the time. So I wasn't familiar with yes. I just thought, I got a winner here. No, I had somebody verbally patting me on the head. Go ahead, pat, 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 push, 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 push. The habit we have is meant to serve us, not to hold us hostage. That's the simple win. Serve us, support us, keep us feeling, I got this. That's what it's all about. Because right now, I got to tell you, we are living in interesting times. And that is why the Pivotry in Motion concept, that is why these videos, that is why the live shows that we're building, that we're organizing, that we're putting in place in terms of where we're performing them and how we're performing them and how people get involved. I'm not trying to undermine anything going on. I'm creating more than one way to diffuse. I'm creating more than one way to take the speed ramp. I'm creating more than one way for us to deliver to us a happy hug habit. Does that sound reasonable? Does it sound viable? Good. So until Thursday, look, be observant of the little habits you have, the goofy little habits that you have. And let us know, either in the Unforgettables or on my page or in the next video when you're watching, and say, hey, Abby, I've got this weird habit. And don't scare me. This is a family show. But we all want to know that it's not just me. We all want to know, am I the only one who does this? We all need to know. I went to an event last night, and there was a large group of people who had known each other for years and years and years. And it's crazy because I, for such a long time, didn't know people for years and years and years. And it was refreshing and lovely to see the way they just comfortably gravitate, talk, connect to each other, like putting on a favorite pair of socks, you know. And then partway through the evening, I realized that I've been in Ottawa for long enough that I have some of those same connections now. Ottawa has been the place I have lived the longest time. It is my familiar space. Ottawa has become my happy hug habit. My little apartment is where I feel incredibly sanctuaried and safe. And we all need that. It is how we are wired. And the anxiety that we feel, or the exhaustion that we feel, or the confusion that we feel, or the uncertainty, how am I going to do this? How do I navigate that? I don't know this. I had this and now I don't. Everything's changing. It's terrifying. You're not crazy to feel this way. Those of us who own our businesses and run our businesses, we have people relying on us. So many of my connections on LinkedIn, we're talking CEOs. Even if it's a small company, you still have people depending on you. CEOs, well, really parents and teachers, everybody is a CEO of their own life. But CEOs are like those Russian nesting dolls. There's a doll and a doll and a doll and a doll and a doll, and they're all nestled inside each other. They're nested inside each other. I use that Russian nesting doll visual to describe how it's the smallest doll that is the us seed. That doll is the original us. Every additional doll that we become, it's not fake. It represents the role we play in the different tribes we belong to. We used to only belong to one tribe. We were the one doll in one tribe. And then We didn't, our species didn't die out. We expanded. And now, I belong to, what kind of tribes do I belong to? Well, I belong to, I own a car tribe, and I live in an apartment tribe, and I go out to restaurants tribe, and I'm a writer tribe. I'm a member of all those individual tribes. If I'm a CEO, I'm also in charge of people and processes and systems and multiple layered outcomes, along with all this other stuff. If I'm a spouse, if I have relationships, kids, siblings, extended family, that's another series of tribes. All of these nesting doll versions of me are relying on the one small inner version of me. That is a lot of responsibility. And this one inner small nesting doll version of me is the one trying to balance and cope and understand and respond to and leverage and navigate the sifting sands and the raging seas. And don't get me started on the toxic cheese doodle clowns. When that small us is overwhelmed to the point of exhaustion, that brain fog steps in, none of the other versions of us has the ability to reset, rest, and recharge. When things start to go wrong, when something goes wrong here, the ripple effect is felt everywhere. When something goes seriously wrong, how we, the little doll, feel is bigger than grief. It's executive grief, because we are the executive of our lives, of all of our lives in all of our tribes. We need, first of all, to know this, to say, that's exactly what it feels like. We need to know this. We need to give ourselves permission to recognize it and take a breath of relief, because it explains so much. And then, I was talking to a very brilliant couple of women at this event last night who are involved in healing processes. I said, the conversations that we need to have with ourselves and with the people who rely on us. One of them was saying masterminding, and I said, I agree, except that I think mentor minding is actually truer, because what we are doing is we are counseling ourselves and each other. We have to counsel ourselves and each other and provide the happy hugs and the guidance before we can re-master, re-enter the arena. We have to give ourselves permission to not be perfect, to do those 30-second breathing exercises, the 5-finger breathing, to give ourselves that trip. We need that, and we deserve it. And today, that's why I thought, it is Aries. It is Aries season, so there's that. I wanted, and I want each of you to come away from the video today with a fun, simple hack that's going to make you look around your house and think, I wonder how I can apply that principle to this, which is bugging me. And then every time we do that, what happens is that we feel a simple win. And that is all it takes to begin again, to start again, and feel like, yeah, I got this. We got this. I'm walking here. And that's the whole point. So with that said, here we are, almost 11 o'clock my time. Thank you for joining me. As always, without you, it's a rehearsal. There's two entities in a show. The one is sending out and the other's bringing back. What I want to say always is that you give me such momentum and encouragement with your comments, with the showing up, seeing after the video how many people were just there watching, sipping their coffee, shaking their heads, remembering things, wondering about the toothpaste tube, wondering about the way to fold a fitted sheet. Other than balling it up. All those things. There are simple wins for those. So I'll be back on Thursday. I have a very, very interesting video theme to talk about. Between now and then, we're hoping it stops snowing. Come on, Mother Nature. It's like, have you seen that joke? It's like Mother Nature is having an argument, and she's not done. She keeps coming back and saying, and another thing. That's the wrong thing. So if we can find the way to jettison the stress and the toxicity, as Warren and I said, let's launch the clowns. Send in the clowns? No. Send out the clowns. Run along. No clowns today. We are closed. Remember that you're allowed to do that. You don't have to say, I never need to see you again. You don't have to be abrupt and firm and dismissive. You can draw a heart-shaped line in the sand and love them from afar. Everybody has permission to do that. So consider that between now and Thursday. Okay? And remember to hug your loved ones. My gosh, they deserve it. And be good to you. You deserve it too. And I will catch you next time.